Okay, I'm very happy to be joined today by Killjoy, Joy Pendell, who is making her Invicta debut November 6th, Invicta 58, taking on Zurina Turrey. Joy, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Week out, biggest fight of your career. How are these next few days gonna look for you?
Um, Honestly, the week of the fight, the week before the fight is really relaxing because my training's tapering down and it's just about, dieting and making the weight, which is tough. But at the same time, being on a diet is very cleansing. It really focuses and centers you because it's a really mentally challenging thing to do to, have to starve yourself and
Yeah.
cut those calories. But it's good. All the hard part is done. All the hard spar sessions, all the real hard training is all wrapped up. So I feel really great. I don't have any injuries. Everything's feeling healed and I'm feeling fresh and ready. So it's just lots of shadow boxing and running and visualizing and, just last minute drills to keep me fresh. But I'm more ready than I've ever been.
Correct me if I'm wrong, this is your first fight outside of California.
Correct.
So obviously, the travel aspect of things, that's a whole new wrinkle to deal with in that last few days as well. How soon are you making the trip over
They're gonna fly me out on Sunday, and then we have our media day Monday,
there?
weigh-ins Tuesday, and then the fight on Wednesday. So I'm gonna have a little bit of time to adjust. It's a little bit of a time difference. It's 2 hours different from
Yeah.
here. But this isn't my first time traveling for a fight in general. When I was an amateur, I traveled down to Southern California for a few
Oh,
days for
yeah.
actually my last amateur fight. So I do have that experience of being in the hotel room and all that, and it's fine. It doesn't throw me off at all.
And obviously, I'm sure in jiu-jitsu, you obviously done matches that are further away that you've had to travel to and things as well, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's nothing new. It's just interesting with the card being on a Wednesday. It's like obviously with weekend shows, you kind of know, oh, we're gonna get in Monday or Tuesday, and then with a Wednesday, it's kind of oh, they're gonna fly you in Sunday. It's like, but it's one of those things that you don't necessarily think about. Really quick turnaround since that last fight. 2 months ago, you were in there with A1 Combat, winning a belt in the process. How soon after that fight did you hear about this opportunity with Victor, and how did everything come about?
Well, originally I told Tom that I wanted on that card immediately in November. I want to stay really active. I'm not interested in just hanging onto the belt for the sake of having a belt. I don't care about that. I care about getting fights, building my record, and building myself and getting ahead in my career. So Tom was looking for someone for me in November, but he wasn't able to make anything happen. And in that time where I was reaching out to people and try to find a fight. Invicta sent me a message, and so that was in. I guess that would have been late September or early October, so really quick after my fight. And then I couldn't turn down Invicta. Of course, this is such a huge opportunity. So I told Tom I'm gonna take this fight, but I'm not trying to run away from A1 or anything. I'm more than happy to defend my belt early next year. So hopefully January or February.
So contractually, you're able to kind of go between both?
Yeah, so my deal with A1, we've just done one fight contracts, and that's what I
Yeah.
prefer. And it's the same thing with Invicta. I just prefer one
Okay.
one fight contracts because I don't want to be obligated to anything. I want to be able to make my own decisions.
Obviously, though, going forward with Invicta is a goal, right?
Yes. My goal is to put on a really good performance and make them want to have me back.
Yeah.
And give me a shot for their belt, of course, because their featherweight belt is vacant right now. So they're
Mm.
putting on a bunch of different featherweights, letting us
Yeah.
all fight each other and trying to decide who the next contenders are. So I need to go out there and have a really good performance and make a big splash to convince them that I'm up there as one of their top contenders.
Yeah, and you say obviously that you can turn down Invicta. It's such a huge platform for women's MMA. Obviously, CBS Sports now is a really massive deal. Um, Still early in your career, so what does it mean to you to get this opportunity at this point of your career?
I'm so grateful for it. There's a saying that it takes years of hard work to become an overnight success. And I feel like that's exactly what's happened with me. I've just been grinding and working and training and just putting everything into it for 10 years, 10 plus years, because I love it. This is my lifestyle. This is who I am. This is so fun to me. I love training. I love going to the gym. I don't even understand people who want to take time off. It doesn't make sense. Like, what are you doing if you're not training? Are you a martial artist or are you not? You really either have to be about the life or you're not. But but yeah, it's a really a dream come true. I mean, even before I was fighting and before I ever even was really seriously training that way, I would watch these Invicta fights and think like, whoa, it'd be so cool, like to be in there. I would just imagine what it was like. And then now here I am, it's actually happening. It's really surreal.
Yeah, obviously, I just want to touch on that last fight with A1. Obviously, Carlin Chandler was someone you'd fought twice before through pro and amateur as well. Um, so that was your third fight with her. How do you look back on that last fight with her? Obviously going the distance.
I'm really happy that that chapter is closed. Happy to prove to everybody that I am the better fighter. That was the goal. In our first two fights together, obviously I dominated every minute of all the fights except for the very last bit of the second fight. But it's just a mistake, you know, and I just wanted to get back in there and prove like no, she doesn't have me anywhere. She can't get me anywhere, you know. I felt good about the fact that look, she like emptied her arsenal on me in the first minute of our third fight. She just came at me with everything, threw all her best shots, all her hardest hits, and they didn't do anything, you know? Like I didn't get stunned, I didn't get dazed, nothing. And then she just gassed out and then I grabbed onto her and just grappled her to death the rest of the fight. So, you know, to me that's just another easy win. I was more cautious in that fight obviously because I did not want to mess that one up this time. um and honestly, I don't even feel like I look that good against her when I fight because she's not very good. And I always look better against people that are better. You know, I always rise to the occasion. So if I have a tougher opponent in front of me, I'm gonna fight better and I'm gonna look, you know, like the martial artist that I am. So I'm really excited for Zarina because she is a good, respectable martial artist, and I think she is gonna bring out the best in me.
Yeah, with that being said, Zurina Turrey is going to be opposite you in the cage next week. It's also her Invicta debut as well. What do you know about her? What are your thoughts on her coming in as the opponent this time out?
I don't know anything about her personally. It's just the tape that I've watched, but
Yeah.
what I see in her is she's a very game fighter. She loves to just get scrappy, get dirty. She'll do anything, you know. She'll box, she'll kick, she'll take you down. She's not afraid of anything, and she gets a little wild in there, which can be to her benefit, but also could be to her detriment. She can get a little she can make mistakes. I see that, you know, her clinch fighting doesn't seem to be very strong. That doesn't seem to be one of her strong points. I very much like being in the clinch, so you'll probably see me attempt to clinch up. And then her grappling looks okay, but it's not like my grappling. So again, I know I'm gonna have a big advantage in the clinching and in the grappling. In the striking, she actually has a little bit longer reach than I have, even though she's a little bit shorter. She has those long monkey arms. So that's just something to keep in mind for myself when managing the distance with her. And of course, she really likes to throw those big swinging hooks, those really hard shots. But I'm not afraid of that because again, like Carlene was the same kind of fighter. She wants to throw those big power shots. I do believe, you know, Zarina is a better striker, of course, and she's going to be more accurate and not as wild, but it's kind of that similar style. So I'm prepared for that. I've been there before. So yeah, it's just on the feet, of course, managing my distance and my length. And then if she comes in, well, that's bad news. You know, you don't want to be on the outside with me. You don't want to be on the inside with me. You don't really want to be anywhere. So I feel confident, you know, I respect her and I think she's really good, but I know I'm better and I know I can beat her.
Obviously, you came into MMA with a platform from the jiu-jitsu world. Do you think that helped you as you started your MMA career or perhaps made things more difficult?
I would say at the amateurs, it made things more difficult
Yeah.
because girls didn't really want to fight me when I have such a strong grappling base, and especially in amateur fights, it almost always goes to the ground.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit hard to get started in the world of MMA as an amateur, especially just finding those first few fights. But as a pro, everybody's really well prepared, so I don't feel like anybody's afraid of my grappling. And also, of course, grappling in the cage is different than grappling in jiu-jitsu. It's not the same sport. So it's helped me, of course, having a strong grappling base, especially a strong wrestling base, that helps so much. in MMA. You can choose obviously whether that fight stays on the feet or goes to the ground. But so it's, in reality it's helped me, but yeah, it hasn't held me back at all. I don't feel like girls are worried about it particularly.
You obviously say that in the cage it's a different sport. Was there anything about grappling in the cage that when you had those first fights maybe caught you off guard?
Um, well, it's interesting how, okay, so in jiu-jitsu, when you're on top, you're winning, and it's somewhat the same in MMA. Like when
Yeah.
you're on top, you're pretty much winning. But the girls they'll grab onto my gloves and grab onto my arms because of course they don't want to get hit. And then I'll get frustrated because I'm on top and I'm feeling stuck. I feel like I'm just sitting there and I'm not really doing anything. And then in my mind, I start worrying like, oh, the ref's gonna like stand us back up. And then I start, yeah, just I got a little mentally thrown off, I guess. Just yeah, just managing my own patience, I guess, is what it is. So that's why, like in the rematch with Carlene, you see, I was just being patient on top. I didn't try to force anything. I wasn't like hunting that submission or that TKO, although I was looking for it, of course, but I wasn't trying to force it. And yeah, it just learning about how to manage the pros and cons of every situation in the grappling exchanges.
Obviously, the jiu-jitsu is what's going to stand out to anyone who just kind of, let's say, just does a quick Google on you, tries to see what you're about. But you've got a few kind of TKO finishes as well, through pro and amateur. So obviously with Invicta, it's a big platform. There's going to be people watching that have never seen you fight before. Um, for those people, how do you describe yourself in the cage? What's the image you want to put in people's heads before they watch you fight?
I'm a complete mixed martial artist.
Yeah.
I'm not just a grappler, not just a striker. I am complete. I'm well-rounded. And I love to fight. I love martial arts. I love studying all of it. I love doing all of it. So I definitely do not like being labeled as a grappler, even though
Yeah.
grappling clearly is my strong suit. But I've worked really hard to round out my game and I feel very confident in all aspects of my game. So I want people to see me as such. I want them to see me as the next future champ.
Perfect. Have a bit of a quick fire segment, so I'm just going to ask you some quick fire questions.
Sure.
Favorite food,
Tacos.
favorite drink,
Pedialyte. I drink Pedialyte like all the time.
what's your go-to breakfast?
uh I don't eat breakfast too much because I train. So I just
Yeah.
have like a little bit of melon in the morning and then
Yeah.
I train. But if I was actually gonna have breakfast, I love pancakes.
Favorite movie.
Movie. Um, well,
This is always the question that throws people, by the way.
I know. I'm like movies. I don't watch a lot of movies these days, but I'd say like a long time favorite of mine was Pirates of the Caribbean. I've watched that movie so many
Yeah.
times over. So yeah, I say that might be my favorite.
Favorite TV show.
I'm watching Money Heist. That's a really good one on Netflix.
Favorite musician.
I like Romeo Santos. That might surprise people, but I love bachata music. I'm big into bachata dancing, so Romeo.
Favorite sport other than MMA.
Soccer.
Yeah. Who's your team? What team did you follow?
Well, I like to play it more than I like to
Oh, okay,
watch
that's
it.
that's fine. That's
But
fine.
yeah, but Cruz Azul, if I choose somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, here in the UK, if I'm interviewing American fighters, we don't get that answer very often. Um, yeah. What position did you play, or do you play?
Defense normally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite fight. So we'll do one favorite fight of your own, and then your favorite fight to watch.
Oh, okay. So I think like my favorite, I would say there's so many fights, it's tough to pick a favorite, but one of my favorite fights was Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes the first time. because look, Amanda Nunes is a bull, and Juliana Pena, she's not on Amanda's level as far as like just physicality, power, and all that. But Juliana had such a amazing game plan with how she fought Nunez. I love watching that fight. I've watched that fight several times over. I just genius. Um, and such an upset. So I'd say that's like my favorite fight to watch. And then for myself, I would have to say my fight against my fight against Kaya, I guess, would probably be my favorite because it just went exactly the way I thought it was gonna go. Like it went exactly according to plan. Um, although I will say another favorite fight of mine was my fight against Jaylene because coming off of that loss, obviously I wasn't in the best headspace, but I was really determined. I was like, okay, like I'm gonna go in with a lot more just I'm just gonna try everything and I'm just gonna be confident on my feet and be confident in my takedown defense and in my takedowns and I showed a little bit of everything in that fight. I got after her on the feet, beat her up on the feet, did really well in the clinch and then obviously at the end took her down and had her like just about TKO'd and the bell saved her. So and that was, a big personal victory
Yeah.
just to get that loss off. It's terrible to have to sit on a loss. So to get my record back, 1-1, that's better. Get my career back on track. Um, yeah, either of those fights, I'd say, would be a favorite fight of mine.
Favorite fighter.
Oh, well, you know what? It's always going to be Ronda Rousey, to be
Yeah.
honest. I love Ronda Rousey. She had such a spell over that division for so many years. I mean, Ronda Rousey in her prime, like in her heyday, like holy smokes, like she was really unstoppable. She was such a force. Everybody was scared of her. Like, yeah, I love Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, it's crazy because it wasn't that long ago, but I feel like it already gets forgotten how much she did for the sport. Not even just for
Right.
women in the sport.
Yeah, you're completely right. So much for women, but for the entire MMA community and for the UFC. I mean, she's the one that really got people paying attention to the UFC.
Yeah, like even it was a little bit before Connor, but like she was in a Fast and Furious movie. Like that's the
Yeah.
level of star we were talking about back then, and that gets forgotten now because obviously the way she went out and then yeah,
I mean, shoot, losing's a part of fighting. Like it's what it is. It
yeah,
doesn't make her any less of a champion. It doesn't diminish anything she did that she lost. Like whatever. But man, during her time,
yeah.
people can't forget about that.
It's a good one for you. Favorite submission to practice.
Well, I have a lot of favorite submissions, but I love to knee bar people. I'm always knee barring people in the gym.
That's
I've
vicious. That's nasty. That's mean. That's
Yeah,
vicious. Going out the
yeah. And then I love chokes. I love to head and arm choke. I like to involve blue choke.
yeah,
I love Darce chokes. I love chokes. Yeah.
yeah. Funniest person you've met in MMA.
Funniest person I ever met in MMA. Well, I haven't met him, but I think Colby Covington's really funny. I mean, I know a lot of people are like very offended by his brand of humor, but I'm not offended by much. So, but I enjoy him. Funniest person I ever met. I mean, I think Andre Feely's pretty entertaining. He's
Yeah.
one of my teammates. Yeah, that'd probably be someone I know who's funny. Yeah,
I mean, just for the nickname, it's like a creative nickname that's gonna stand out and make people laugh right from the jump.
for sure.
Yeah. Best piece of advice you've been given.
Oh, I've had a lot of good advice given to me over the years. Most of it by my head MMA coach Daniel Brito. But after my loss to Carlene and right before the Jaylene fight, because I got booked again immediately. He said to me, he's like, Joy, you just need to fight. You just need to bring the dog out. He's like, we're not changing anything, you know, like nothing, like all the preparations for Carlene were perfect. everything was going perfect in that fight, up until the last second. But he's like, just just fight Jaylene. Just fight her. Don't stop being a perfectionist. Stop trying to make everything look the way you want it to look. Just freaking bite your mouthpiece and fight. And that's what I did, and it really turned everything around for me. So I'd say, at different points in your career and at different points in your training, you need to hear different things. And that's what I needed to hear at that moment. Obviously that advice isn't something you would tell a beginner, like
Yeah.
just fight. Like a beginner's gonna be like, I don't know what to do. But the point is, like, I have trained long enough and I have the techniques and I have the experience already. So yeah, those words were appropriate at that moment. I just needed to bring the dog out.
That's all for the quick fire one. Thank you for taking the time, Joy. Invicta 58, November 6th. A week out as we record this, but I mean, as soon as the video gets released, it's this coming Wednesday. CBS Sports in the US. Here in the UK, it's a YouTube pay-per-view, but it's very cheap. It's less than £1, I believe. So there's not really any excuse not to be checking this one out. It's a great card. Obviously, Joy's on there making her Invicta debut. And finally, give us the hard sell. When yourself, Zurina Turrey, step into the Invicta cage, what can the people expect?
They can expect some entertainment. That's what they can expect. They can expect a good fight, a good scrap between two ladies who really want this. Zarina's 4-1. She's coming off of a loss, and I know she's gonna be pissed because that's the way I felt after my loss. I mean, I was really looking to redeem myself. I was a little bit angry, a little bit, you know, just feeling like I just made a mistake, and I just want to fix it. And I know Zarina feels the same way. She, just made a little bit of a mistake against, a girl that I already beat. And I know she's feeling like, all right, we gotta get in there and prove we're better than this. But she picked the wrong opponent. She shouldn't have accepted this matchup if she wanted to turn her career around. This is not a safe fight at all. So um so yeah, the people can expect a show. So definitely tune in and don't forget my name. I am gonna be the next Invicta champion. I'm gonna do really big things in my career. I have huge plans for myself. So follow my journey, and you guys are gonna be in for a ride.
Yeah, I couldn't have put it any better than that. So, yeah, Joy Pendell, thanks for taking the time. Best of luck on Wednesday.
Thank you. Appreciate you.